I remember them saying it, and I remember the sense of a little bit of anger rising up in me, a little bit of annoyance, and then a little bit of calm down. This is where they're at. Um, Listen to them, smile nicely. But it was these words that really sort of triggered that sort of response. Uh, with your people, referring to the people that I was pastorally caring for, people with major mental illnesses and lots of life stuff going on, addictions, all that sort of thing. They said, with your people, it's two steps forward and three steps back. And yeah, as I say, I had to sort of hold my hold myself back from yeah laying out a few steps on them. Um, but it was their inability to understand what was really going on for these people and the struggles that they had, and that for me it wasn't two steps forward and three steps back. That is a regression, just keeping on going back. It wasn't like that at all. And then there was another person who described the people that I was pastorally supporting as having special needs. I think she was confusing mental illness with people who have intellectual disabilities or disabilities that they just can't seem to run life very well with. Um, so from those two, I didn't really take much guidance from in my pastoral life. And look, there are some people you just want to put out of your room. Okay, and when I'm talking about putting out of the room, I remember the story of Jesus where they invited him to come and pray for this young girl who was sick, and there were all these people in the room that were wailing and moaning and groaning and thinking that this was the end, and he quietly asked them to leave the room, and because they were actually hindering what he was wanting to do. And there's some people that I've had to um, quietly ask to leave the room, or I leave their room. And look, um, have you ever been categorized or labeled? Maybe you've been feel pressured to change, to get better, to be different, and all you ever wanted was just someone to walk just a few millimeters beside you and be a friend. Um, there's this quote from Albert Camus: "Don't walk in front of me, I may not follow. Don't walk behind me, I may not lead. Walk beside me, just be my friend." And and I've heard other people say, "Look, I try so hard, but it's like taking two steps forward and three steps back." And that sort of comes from a voicing of frustration. And I might have voiced it. Um, I might be voiced about my own frustration and my own lack of progress or lack of people that I'm helping. And I can feel that, like that there is no progress or there may be even regress. And it's so easy to slip into despair. And Rob Bell says that despair is a spiritual condition. Despair is when you fall under the belief and conviction that tomorrow will simply be a repeat of today. And I remember someone talking to me who was getting very frustrated that they were not seeing the progress in someone they were supporting. And then I thought of the word expectations. They were wanting steps. They were wanting this person to change real quick and everything to boom, 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 and life's so easy like that. And then I started talking about millimeters, like a millimeter per month. And actually, I went on to adopt a phrase called millimeter ministry and have expectations that are realistic to the challenges being faced into. And instead of two steps forward and three steps back, it might be 3 millimeters forward and 1 millimeter back. And it's all about doing the small and highly achievable. Look, my parents were sheep farmers. And so much of my childhood I spent roaming the hills of our farm. And there was one particular hill that was quite steep. And I remember my father pointing out to me that whenever sheep would want to get to the other side of the hill, they would always go around the hill. They'd go around the hill. And they did this so often that deep ruts formed over the years. Pathways had trodden into the soil to show the route for the next generation and the next generation. And they still climbed the hill, but the gradient or the angle with which they climbed, it was manageable for them. And a good shepherd, which my father was, would not rush the sheep and try to push them up a hill they didn't want to go up. Instead, he would gently allow the sheep to take the easiest and lowest gradient for them to handle. And I wonder um, about drivers. What's driving the change? What's driving the need to change? What is pushing along behind you? I know sheep will go up a hill, a steep hill, if behind them is a barking dog and an impatient farmer. But leave them to their own devices, and they will go up on the path of least resistance. What are the drivers? Others' expectations? Your expectations? The disease of comparisonitis. Yeah, that's a nasty one. Comparing yourself to others. Look, if it's an unrealistic expectation for the now, then be prepared for 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. And burnout. That's what's going to happen. Keep on going up and then slipping all the way down. Keep on going up, slipping all the way down. Burnout. Instead, I would like you to think about millimeters. Millimeters, maybe even a nanometer, the distance between two brain synapses. And any progress is good progress. Even if you go back, you can learn something from it, and you can use this learning to go forward with confidence. Think of the slight gradient rise that the sheep on my family farm used to take over a hill. It was very, very slight, very, very slight. But eventually they would climb up and around on the hill. You don't have to take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. You may just want to take 1 millimetre forward and half a millimetre back, and a half a millimetre or 2 millimetres forward, and then a couple millimetres back maybe. But over time, long time, you'll see the difference. Okay, here's some quotes. Praise and encouragement is much more effective in changing others' behavior than is criticism. But which do you use on yourself? David Riddell. All changes, even the most longed for, have their melancholy. For what we leave behind us is a part of ourselves. We must die to one life before we can enter into another. Anatole France. Metanote, or change of consciousness, can only come with time. Patience is the very shape of love. Without it, religion is merely about enforcing laws and requirements. Richard Rohr. A good journey begins with knowing where we are and being willing to go somewhere else. Richard Rohr. Courage doesn't roar. Sometimes courage is a quiet voice at the end of the day saying, I'll try again tomorrow. Marianne Radmacher. Nothing digs ditches like shovelfuls of dirt. Rick Hansen. Changing behavior by use of willpower alone will soon result in saying the same tune but in a different key. The problems just move sideways. David Riddell. Changing one's behavior is much more promising strategy than insisting on change from the other. Terence Real. Here's some questions. What does the pressure to change come from? Where does the pressure of change come from for you? Okay, where does it come? Is it from external sources? Is it from internal sources? Comparisonitis. Where does that pressure come from? What would a millimetre or even a nanometre of change look like for you? What role does having supportive relationships have in seeing change happen? Formation exercise. It's not up and down. It's a more slight and gradual upward movement to newness. Journal about the most significant changes in your life and how many of them were achieved in small, gradual movements. Then I've got some extra posts you'd like to look at. But hey, if you want to come over and read this and learn more about this, come over to the blog post. There's a link in the show notes below. And I'd love to hear from you. It's barry@turningthepage.co.nz. And I pray that you would learn about taking millimeters and not huge steps and making them firm and committed. Okay. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Bye.